States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Shall we pray? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in this earth as it is in heaven. This is the prayer that our Lord prayed, and we thank you for putting in perspective that your kingdom is not just up there, but your kingdom is on this earth as well. We pray that the decisions that we make today will be not only pleasing to our constituents, but pleasing to those that we represent in our community and throughout Bradley County, but please you in what we do. May our hearts and our minds, our spirit and our speech be acceptable in your sight. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Good afternoon, everyone. This time we'll report from our county mayor, Mayor Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, everyone. You have three resolutions on the agenda, but I have two to add to that. I just passed them out. The first one is the resolution naming who's going to be administering the seventh bucket of ARP money. This coming through TDEC, it required us to go through an RFP process that we don't normally do. But anyway, after doing that, we opened those on for Thursday or Friday morning, and the development district is the one that's in the resolution that we're proposing to move forward with. So if someone would put that on the agenda for next week, I would appreciate it.
Someone, Mr. Slater, okay?
And the other one, we have some people here to explain about it if you'd like. Cleveland Housing Authority is seeking funding from the state to rehabilitate a portion of their low-income housing facilities here in Cleveland and Bradley County. The authority has an opportunity to close on a deal worth close to about $50 million with the state. That closing date is set for July the 28th, so they're asking us to approve this resolution. It needs to be placed on next week's voting session to be voted on in order to move forward with the process that they're working with the city and with the state. And they're here, if you would like to say a few words. Paul Dellinger, the Executive Director of Cleveland Housing Authority, would like to come to the podium and talk about this, explain to them, because this is all new to them. Nobody's heard anything about it yet.
Yes, thank you very much, and I certainly do appreciate and thank you for the opportunity to come and speak to you very briefly about this issue. My name is Paul Dellinger. I'm Director of the Housing Authority, and I'd like to just remind us all that while our name is Cleveland Housing Authority, we are really the housing authority for Cleveland and Bradley County. We serve folks both in the county and within the city, so this is a community issue. I'm very pleased to let you know very briefly that the Housing Authority has been working for the past 2 years, embarking upon a project where we're going to be doing major renovations, both inside and out, to our portfolio of apartments that we're using to serve low-income citizens in our community. Part of the funding mechanism that we're using to finance this is the tax credit program that's offered through the state. And as a result of that tax credit program, it requires us to do and create some ownership entities under the umbrella of the Housing Authority in order for us to be able to effectively lease our own properties to ourselves. And I hesitate to give you too much detail, but I want to be representative of the facts so that you understand what we're asking of. The state law of Tennessee talks specifically about the mechanism and how this is to work and why we are coming before you as well as the city council here in just about an hour or so. So to get into the overarching issues with regard to that tax credit program and the leases, I'm going to turn the ball over to my attorney, Jeff Jones, and allow him kind of wrap it up for us. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Paul said, my name is Jeff Jones. I represent the Cleveland Housing Authority, and I appreciate you guys' time this afternoon. I also want to say thank you to Ms. Freiberg. She was very helpful last week. I explained to her that I'm her counterpart in Putnam County. I've been the county attorney in Putnam County since the mid-90s, so I'm a little familiar with the pressures and issues that you guys have to deal with. Just a little bit of a foundation for those of you that aren't familiar with the Housing Authority. Housing authorities are a creature of statute, a creature of law in the state of Tennessee. They provide low-income housing to disadvantaged people. The law, case law, attorney general's opinions, they all recognize housing authorities as a governmental entity. And because of that, the property that the housing authority owns is tax exempt. No taxes from the city of Cleveland, no taxes paid to Bradley County. The housing authority does have, and you'll see it in the resolution that's before you, and I don't want you to get confused about it, because I know when you're dealing with the Industrial Development Board pilots and things such as that, you say, okay, what are these guys coming to us for? What kind of money do they want from us? Well, we don't want anything from them, okay? We do have a pilot agreement, but it's different than what you deal with as far as your IDBs are concerned, okay? The Cleveland Housing Authority has an opportunity to make some really much-needed upgrades to its developments. Now, the way that housing authorities used to get funded, if you were going to build a development or rehab a development, is the federal government would just give you a pile of money and say, here, go out and take care of business. They don't do that anymore. The way that they do it now is they issue low-income housing tax credits. And the way that works is they give you a pile of credits. The housing authority has to go out and sell these credits to an investor for so many cents on the dollar. Usually somewhere between 85 to 92 cents on the dollar, 92 if you're really lucky. And the deal is, it's a good deal for the investors because they get a tax break. They get 100 cents worth of tax credit for 85 cents that they pay on the dollar. The deal is, though, that the law requires us to set up a partnership where there's a partnership between the management side of things, and that's the housing authority. And I'm speaking in general terms here. The housing authority being the management side, and the investor is the investment side. And so they form a partnership, and that's what you've got to have to be able to use these tax credits. But as Paul said, the law requires that the taxing jurisdictions, City of Cleveland, Bradley County, both approve the leases, because what's going to happen is the housing authority is going to lease its properties to this partnership. Essentially lease the property to itself. And that's the way that they take advantage of these tax credits. All right? So, just to make certain that you guys understand, we're not asking any money from Bradley County in this deal. I know you guys, just like all other counties, deal on a June 30 fiscal year. In Putnam County, we're getting ready to approve a budget this month. You guys I think Crystal said you guys may have already approved a budget. I know the drill, I know how it works. We have a whole section in our budget in Putnam County where nonprofits will come looking for money. We're not doing that. We're not looking for a handout here. We're not asking for any revenue. By law, this requires both the City of Cleveland and Bradley County to approve this. And this is going to be a benefit to everybody. Not only is it going to upgrade the housing authority facilities for your low-income people, for disadvantaged people in our area, but we're going to have to use contractors and supplies from this area to do all this rehab. So it's going to generate sales tax for everybody involved. So the bottom line is, we're not asking you to stroke a check. We're just asking for a stroke of the pen on this resolution. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you guys got.
Mr. Blake?
Real quick, so $50 million worth of improvements is what I heard you say.
Yeah.
So assessor of property, that he will increase his assessment or his appraisal for all that. So,
No.
So he doesn't even come into play.
Assessor, if you look at the Tennessee property tax database for the state of Tennessee, you log on to it, or you go over to the assessor properties office and look for a tax card on Cleveland Housing Authority, it won't be there because it's tax exempt.
Right.
It's government.
Well, that was the second part, is that
Yeah.
it gets appraised, but it gets discounted or reduced. It's not even on there.
I don't think the field appraisers come out and look at it.
Because I did look at it, and there's another one in there, the Summit or something like that, that has a 0 as far as liability, but he still has it appraised. That's neither here nor there. I'll take it at your word.
Okay, yeah.
But,
And it may very well be that the Bradley County assessor is doing that. I don't know. Putnam County doesn't.
But he zeroes it out because of what you just said.
Right.
But I just wondered if the appraisals are going to increase with the $50 million of improvements.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing, I
So-
know. Because we want to improve this property.
Yeah, real quick, the other thing is, what's the timeline on all this? So we'll
Oh,
approve
yeah.
this next, in our voting session, next Monday, and then you'll see the city, they'll do their part, and then you get the money from the state and you start doing things. So when will we see workers out
everything-
there and stuff like that?
Yes, sir, thank you. If everything goes according to schedule, and we all know how schedules can change, the plan right now is closing on the 28th of July with a notice to proceed sometime in August or September, and then the length of the total project, we estimate to take about 21 months to complete.
Thank you, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Commissioner Peak and then Commissioner Slater.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Would this be touching the Lee Street housing development over there off of 13th? I noticed that in the past few years, there have been improvements, but they weren't all finished. It didn't look like all the buildings have been touched. So would this be finishing those?
Yes, ma'am. That, of the 14 different locations that we have, this will encompass 10 of those. Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Slater.
Can we get a list of the 10 locations by address of which ones are gonna be renovated? If
Absolutely.
you can send that to Mrs. Moultrie.
Yes,
Thank
absolutely.
you.
Any other questions?
Have you put it on the voting session if you want.
That'd be fine. Thank you, Commissioner Blake.
We'll be happy to come back next week if you'd like us to.
Thank you, everyone. We
Sure.
appreciate y'all's time.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you, guys. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Reports from committees and board districts. We will start to my left, Commissioner Winters.
Seventh District was great. Did really well.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Ray.
Same thing, Seventh is doing great, and it actually cooled off in the Seventh. Now, I'm not sure about the rest of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have some updates on some broadband grants that we have applied for, and so we would like to call an ad hoc, a broadband ad hoc committee meeting. I know there are several people, citizens that are on that committee, so we would like to do it the week of August the 22nd, but Ms. Moultrie, if you could get with them and we'll solidify a date and announce that next week. Thank you, that's all.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Mason.
Six Sisters, well, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Slater.
I have nothing to report today.
Thank you. Commissioner Moore.
Fifth district's looking good.
Thank you. Commissioner Crowe.
Second District's doing fine.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Peak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Building and Land Committee met earlier today and voted to recommend requesting the new road superintendent to appoint someone to assume the responsibility of monitoring the landfill monitors as did the predecessor. I placed this recommendation on the July 18th voting session. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Blake.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Real quick, as you know, the HCI committee and those guys have the water fund that we fund every year, and we have had an application. What I'd like to do, though, Mr. Chairman, is have Commissioner Slater, who chairs the policy committee, review the policies, because we have HCI water money and then we have federal ARP money, and they're kind of two different policies. One, you have to have, we have a percentage from the utility company, percentage from the county, and percentage from the residents, but we don't have anything like that on the ARP money. So I think it'd be wise if the policy committee can straighten that out so that we can get that all squared away before we get into August, when the HCI and all this start their work. So whenever Commissioner Slater's schedule allows, she can call a committee and we can address that. Other than that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Got that?
Yes,
Commissioner Blake?
thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Peak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just remembered I will be out of town next week. If Commissioner Winters can carry the building and land recommendation that came out of there, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Alford.
Oswell, second.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Hughes.
Mr. Chairman, I have Mr. Crisp here. He's wanting to update us on the situation there at Free Will in Georgetown. If If you will, please,
Yes, sir.
Mr. President.
Well, my name is Cecil Crisp. I've been here before, and I lost my hearing 61 years ago, and I broke my knee. I may rather if I need it. I've been trying to get some help for 33 years. And it's been a nightmare. I can't get in and out of my driveway on pick up and drop off. And when they finish the job, I'm still going to have problems. And I can't get nobody to even come out to the house or listen to me. I done what the judge told me to do and couldn't even get the lawyer to come out there. He wouldn't even be able to case. Because he's running for judge and he didn't want to have whatever. And I get so choked up I can't hardly talk, but now they're still messing with me. The state out there, this volunteer like to come out there and reset a pole 3 different times. They want to move it a little further over on me. And volunteer elected said, I move this pole one more time and you're going to pay for it. Odd thing. Now, I asked the judge told me to speak to a lawyer, which I did. Big mistake. And so I had a chance to negotiate that house, $274,000. So I lost that, and the county lost over $800 on negative. I asked the road department to come out, and all she had to do was come out and take a picture of the problem I've got, the water problem and stuff, having something to negotiate with. Couldn't get nobody out. So now they tore the house down, and I said, well, what about this lot? Is there any way that I could negotiate? I don't want my house over there. Put a mini storage building or something like that. They told me, the state said, we can't sell it. In this kind of a project, we cannot sell that. But after the 3 years, the easement is up, we can donate it. I said, can you donate it to me? We have nothing to do with this, already taken care of, sir. It'll wind up with some builder, real estate or something. But it won't let the joining people live there, bid on it, or have anything to do with it. It's out of. Now, I've been a taxpayer for all this time, and I haven't got no help from nobody. They won't listen to me. Nobody will listen to me. We're supposed to have somebody look into this. Nobody ever showed up. I've been complaining for 33 years. And it's got me to where you wouldn't believe the arguments I've had with my wife. Move, move, move. They're not going to do anything. Now, I'd like to have the lot next door here, have a chance to bid on it, but they said they can't sell it, but they can donate it. And you know who they're going to donate it to. All them other businesses around that they bought. Look, watch where it winds up in the hand of. Watch who owns that now. They can't sell it, but they've already donated it. I don't know why I can't get nobody to come out the house. I tried to get the lawyer to come out there, and I said, let's build a case. No. He said, you can't do anything about that. It's been too long. And you're not gonna get any more in the state office. If I go down there, you said you won't be money ahead. I said, I don't wanna sign that. He said, you don't have to sign it. You get the same amount of money. The county come out and says, can you find it in your heart? Get that school bus off of Highway 60. Let's do something for the kids. Big mistake again. I've never been able to get it out and in. I've had a lot of sleepless nights. And at least I've done a little something. And I'm a taxpayer. That's more than I can say what the county's done for me. They have done, you can't point out one thing that they've ever done for me that I've benefited. Not one.
Mr. Chris, if I can help you on a little bit of it, I don't know if you've noticed the construction that's going on behind Hopewell School. There's some construction that's going on behind Hopewell School. That construction is actually putting a roadway around the school that will take that traffic off from Georgetown to Freewell. So hopefully that will alleviate your problem of being stuck in your house.
The way I don't mean to interrupt, but the way I look at that, I'll be able to make a right turn, go out, but I can't come back in it.
You should be able to make a right or left. The way it's been designed anyway. It was a few months back, we voted actually to back pay you on some taxes that was paid in by you because of an ordeal that happened. It was just something that was looked over. I don't know if you've got that check yet or not. I don't know if finance has done that. Okay. But I think at the time we were waiting on the survey to be done. That survey has been done. The best I can tell, it's a little over $800 that we'll be back paying you if it's not already been done.
That's never been a problem, you know. I ain't worried about that. I'm worried about what, now when they get through me, I've got a real problem.
Everything that
something I have to live with the rest of my life.
Which I understand. Everything that you spoke about that's been issues have been dealt with by the state. Most of it has been state issues, and that's the problem that comes in. Have you by any chance spoke with the state representative or anyone like that?
Have you spoken to any state representative? Have you spoken to any state representative?
Well, before, yeah. But I couldn't get no place.
I will share with you some numbers that will help you on that as far as state representatives. I will call you or get with you however I need to do it. If you need to leave after this, and you can, just do whatever you need to do. And I will call you and leave some information on people to call.
Mr. Black.
Now, is there anything that you can give me any information on that lot?
That's what he's going to do. He's going to call.
Mr. White. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Crystal, Stanley has informed me that he's gotten with you to prepare a deed or something like that. That's what we're waiting on in order to do that $800.
Well, the last I left it is, in order to do a deed, you have to have a survey and you have to have a legal description written from that. So that is the piece that has not been done yet, is the legal description. So I'm hoping that Sandra will do that before she leaves office.
Yeah. So in order to, those have to be done, and then we can give him his refund, or can we give him his refund?
The refund has nothing to do with
Okay.
the deed, so I don't know what the status for that. In fact, this is the first I've heard of the refund portion. I don't know anything. It certainly is not tied to the deed.
We'll do it next week.
I just said.
You don't send that before the
Finance Committee approved the payment for the survey.
Survey,
and it was implied that when the survey was done, August, whatever the refund was going to do, so it's kind of already been decided in the Finance Committee. And $800. So, I mean, I hate for him to wait till mid-August. If we don't have to wait on anything that you're working on with Stanley.
You do not. The deed is separate and apart from any payments that you all would do.
So Commissioner Hughes, if you want to.
Oh, well, the total amount is 847. Do you want that to go to finance first, or do you?
No,
want
I don't
to-
think so.
In that case, I'll put it
Finance
on
has already
the agenda.
approved the payment. Is that Chairman
We're gonna
Wall?
place it on.
Yeah, well, $847 actually.
Okay, it'll come over our $500.
Yes. Sorry about that, let's finish that one.
Anything else, Commissioner Hughes?
No, I think it's got it.
Mr. Epperson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just going to mention on that particular parcel of land that he's talking about that the state has acquired. You can actually get with a certain department within the state and try to put in an application to purchase that property. It's called a buyback from the state of Tennessee. But basically, I think, Mike, you're probably getting some information on that also. And that has been done here in Bradley County where the state has gone in and purchased some property, but it's up to their discretion to whether or not they will sell a portion of that land back to whoever wants to purchase it. They also do an appraisal and all that, and so it's a process you have to go through, but if you wanted to get that parcel of land that's beside you. But other than that, Mr. Chairman, everything's doing good in the first district.
Thank you so much. I moved into the agenda. Item A, Commissioner Peak.
Resolution approving Santec Waste Services to add solid waste processing by solidification at Bradley County landfill pursuant to Tennessee Code annotated Title 69. I placed that on the agenda for next week. However, I will not be there, so if someone else would like to take that over, they can.
Someone want to take that?
I'll take it.
Okay, Commissioner Slater.
This has been discussed at length over the past few months.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner Hughes.
I'd asked, David, I see you're here. This is dealing with the landfill. I'd asked you for some questions or a couple of questions about the chemicals, the non-hazardous chemicals. If you've got a list, you said that you should be able to get that. Have you got that yet?
I have a statement.
You can come to the podium. I recognize you.
Okay, go ahead, Mr.
Please, Mr. Chairman.
Sure, absolutely. Go ahead, David.
Thanks for allowing me to be here, number one. I appreciate it. Through the purchase of Santec, Republic is charged with managing the Bradley County landfill in a safe, healthy, environmentally responsible, and profitable manner. The landfill prior to Republic was taken over, had been managing large amounts of wastewater treatment sludge. Republic willingly gave up the opportunity to manage certain wastewater treatment sludges that were coming into the landfill. That has created a revenue problem for both Republic and Bradley County. We believe there's a revenue stream in solidification at the landfill that is good for both the landfill and surrounding community. Solidification can be beneficial for all parties involved and with and around the landfill. I'm here today on behalf of the Republic Services to ask the Bradley Commission to pass the resolution allowing solidification of non-hazardous industrial process liquids at the Bradley landfill. I've had questions from some commissioners from a list I have provided regarding off-spec non-haz liquid chemicals. I sent this question to the Republic Special Waste Approvals Group. Does your group, and this was the question, does your group have a more extensive listing of industrial process non-hazardous liquids / chemicals that are available for solidification, also knowing that your list would not be all-inclusive? The response was twofold. It would not be practical to put such a list together because if the waste is not hazardous, it would be acceptable provided it is solidified and passes paint filter. The key to this term is non-hazardous. Everything Republic would solidify is a non-hazardous material and would be approved by Republic and TDEC. Every liquid material created has an SDS sheet, safety data sheet. That SDS sheet provides all the information necessary to let us know what that liquid is. Republic also has a very inclusive waste approval form. Just like all solid special waste, this form with an SDS will provide Republic Waste Approval Group all the answers it needs for an approval. This process is already being done at the Bradley landfill for special waste solids. Again, Bradley County and Republic have a revenue problem at the Bradley landfill. Solidification, we believe, is the best alternative to help fix the revenue problem. Solidification is a healthy option for the landfill and the community around the landfill. One of the other questions I got was, how many landfills solidify in my area? There are 4.
Yes, Mr. Peete.
Thank you for coming. I just have one question. So if this body voted down the solidification, then there's nothing stopping Republic from taking in sludge. You only voluntarily did that, or your contract ran out. So there is nothing stopping you from taking sludge into the landfill if this solidification does not pass.
That is correct.
That's my only question. Thank you.
Mr. Hughes and Mr. Blake.
Quick question, David. I realize that you apparently volunteered to quit taking the in or ran out contract right now, 1 and 2. What is to say that if you get the solidification, you don't still take in sludge? Nothing in this contract says you don't, and you stop it just because you take in liquid waste.
I'm taking in liquid waste to create an industrial process solid, which is also a sludge. I can only take in a certain percentage of sludge against the landfill total waste. So by accepting solids, solidification, I'm creating a solid sludge, and that goes against that total sludge.
So in other words, you're taking a liquid and making a sludge out of it, but you're not actually stopping bringing in sludge, you're just creating sludge there. Is that correct?
I'm creating an industrial process sludge, not a wastewater treatment sludge.
But it's still sludge.
That is correct.
So my question is again, so what you're coming about is that it's all about weight. If you have more come in that you're creating, then you won't be able to accept more sludge from like sewer treatment plants.
That is correct.
So,
Commissioner Peete. Commissioner Blake.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's more, not so much a question, point of the note. When I guess your counterpart was here a couple months ago, I asked that very question about if this doesn't get approved, what the ramifications were. Basically, I asked kind of the same question. If this doesn't get approved, now the question was formed, you have the ability to, but if you can go back and listen to the recordings, each meeting is on digital recording, and he said basically that they wouldn't. So I took him at his word that if this doesn't get approved, you're not going to go out and continue with what you voluntarily discontinued. So
I have a revenue issue. We would prefer solidification. Solidification is better for the surrounding neighborhoods, but if we don't, we will search for sludge.
So if we don't approve this, you're going to go back to whether it's Cobb County or anywhere else, bring in what you voluntarily stopped bringing in. Yes. All right. Go ahead, Mr. Hughes.
David, I asked a question a while back. You were talking about the liquid, the chemicals that's non-hazardous. I brought up the example of bleach and ammonia, what would happen if you mix it, it lets off gas, it's hazardous, so on and so on. What is to keep something like that from happening if we accept this?
I'm only going to solidify one load at a time. I'm not going to be a bulk solidifier. I'm going to solidify each load as it comes in. There will be no commingled loads.
So no mixture of just whatever comes in?
That is correct.
I know that accidents can happen. I know you try to do your best to be as safe as possible. But it goes back to just a few weeks ago, we had a fire there, and it's not because we were being unsafe, it just happened. And that's what my fear is on this. What if an accident does happen?
Accidents happen. I apologize for being that blunt, but they happen everywhere. We're going to take one material at a time, solidify it, and put it in the landfill.
Any other questions? Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. Have a nice day.
Okay, item B, Commissioner Peak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a resolution authorizing Bradley County Mayor to enter into an annexation interlocal agreement between the city of Cleveland and Bradley County regarding the non-contiguous annexation for the property currently owned by CT Properties. I'll place that on the agenda for next week. I respectfully ask someone to carry that.
Who wants to carry this?
Oh, no, we're doing that, sorry, that's August the 1st, never mind.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. I thought we were doing that. So you'll be here August 1st, correct?
Yes, we did do this for public hearing.
That's right.
You need to say public hearing.
I didn't say it to begin with. Public hearing is anyone, resolution authorizing Bradley County Mayor into annexation interlocal agreement between the city of Cleveland and Bradley County regarding the non-contiguous annexation of the property currently owned by CT Properties, tax map 040 parcel 078. Is there anyone here want to speak for this or against it? If so, raise your hand and come up to the microphone. Okay. Oh, come on. Sorry, I didn't see you, sir. State your name, please, sir.
My name is Jim Wilson. First thing I'd like to ask is this a property that is on New Murraytown Road?
Let me make sure. Is that correct? Yes.
This one is, yes.
Yes, it is.
It is?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the CT property's there in the map description, which we didn't have a map. I was just curious to make sure that was not the one I was looking for, and it is. There are a lot of folks that live out there, and we still don't have a lot of answers, any feedback on how the road situation is gonna be handled out there. I just came here from New Murraytown Road and met several cars, and it hadn't gotten any wider since last week, and it's gonna have more traffic on it if this happens. Now, we're not against progress, but we wanna know, as a community out there, what is gonna happen to those roads, those schools, the infrastructure around us, because we have to live next to it. And that's our major concern. I mean, not a problem with building houses or apartments, or, well, apartments, but houses out there. But we want to know how we are going to not be put at a disadvantage on our roads. The intersection, right down the road there on Freewell, because it's going to have an entrance and an exit, ingress and egress on either side of it, from my understanding. Okay? So you're going to have people coming in and out off of New Murraytown, which is, you know, in fact, it's 12 foot wide. It'd be a stretch. Freewell's a little wider, but when you come down Freewell, you're going to hit Harrison Pike. That intersection down there has a blinking red light in it. There's been numerous accidents there, especially during the school year, in the morning and the afternoons when they try to get out of school. Have no problem with that, but there's a lot of traffic comes through there. There's been a lot of new building that has went on down the end of New Murraytown Road already, which has definitely increased the traffic flow out there. Those folks will not go over, or most of the time will not go over to exit 25, get on 75. They come down Freewell Road or New Murraytown and come across, go down Harris Creek and hit exit 20 out by the landfill out there. There's a lot of extra traffic that's out there now, so I would hope that that's taken into consideration before anybody does any voting on how this is going to happen out there, because we are definitely concerned about it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Commissioner Peak and then Commissioner Cry.
I will comment, the city did come today to talk about a 20-year growth plan in the red areas and what can be annexed in or requested to be annexed in by the private property owners in that red area, which is the urban growth boundary. They did say that the developments, they have to have an egress or a deceleration lane or an acceleration lane, and that those have to go in prior to the development now. So I know those will be completed before the development would go in, so that is supposed to alleviate the traffic coming on and off. But the rest of that's pretty much city questions up until the point where they annex in. The city will have to take care of that road. And I think they meet this afternoon. That would be a good question for them. But they did come and discuss it today, and I know that they did take care of their improvements on the other end of New Murraytown at 22nd and Freewheel and all that area. So they did do what they were supposed to do in those annexed areas. Will they do it in this area? They say they will. So I guess that's more a lot of city questions there. Thank you, Vice Chairman.
Commissioner Crockett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple of comments. Hensley Road was not on the original packet that came here, but I understand that a member of the commission went to the city, did some negotiation without the commission, to my knowledge, approving it. That is to be taken into the city. I have questions on that. I think that constitutes another proposal for non-contingent annexation, and if it does, legally, there should be signage put out, and we should start the process again on the voting. The New Marytown Road is a particular concern to me. I tried to get a history of the road, but it goes back 70 plus or minus years. It originally started out as a dirt gravel farm road. Nothing's changed except the gravel, tar pitch, asphalt, except it's about 100 times more populated now than it was originally. We need to take all of this into consideration. I agree with the gentleman and the other people that have talked or spoken. I've been out there. I drive a pretty good sized SUV, but I have trouble passing. I have to slow down considerably. I just want to get a clarification from the city, from the county attorney, if this would constitute a new annexation, non-contingent. Thank you.
Ms. Freiberg.
As far as I know, what has been submitted is a revision to the plan of services, which now includes additional roads that will be taken in as part of this. So I think it's the way I understand it, at least what I've seen, it's an amendment to the plan of services. So from that perspective, I mean, you certainly could consider it as many times as you want to, but I think as far as what it's considered, it technically would still be an amendment to that original plan of services and request.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Reaper. Commissioner Pete.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I believe that those roads were actually discussed in previous annexation requests, and they may have even been applied for. I don't know about that 100%, but I know that they were discussed in previous ones and did not get annexed in previous annexations. Also, if you want to talk about roads, I mean, basically any road you go down, if there's a new development, you're going to have to get the roads up to par, you might say, in the county. None of our roads really are that great, so we just need to start looking at getting our roads where they need to be in the entire county.
Thank you, Mr. Pete. Anyone else want to speak before this? Yes, sir. Come on up.
I guess the commissioner answered part of the question. I find it interesting that you have a commissioner who of his own volition goes out, renegotiates part of a deal, no public meeting, no access to that discussion before it was made. This clearly affects a great multitude of people who are, whose lifestyle and everything is going to be affected by this. And so, did we miss a meeting that gave authority to this individual to allow them to move forward and make a change in the in a plan? I mean, I never heard it. I went back and looked. I couldn't find it. Maybe I just don't know how to search these things. I think that's, you know, how reprehensible is that? That you can just go out and change with no discussion. I mean, it's possible it's a violating notion of the open meetings law. You know, when is this stuff sort of thing going to end? Where was the authority given? Who was asked? Another commissioner, you know, she even requested a different map because clearly that wasn't part of the discussion before because she wanted to see. I understand, I'm a visual person also. I get that. What is going on? Who gives this authority? My opinion, you need to renegotiate this whole thing. These people are under a completely different circumstance now than they were before, where the discussion was, but you have people that you have an individual who thinks it's their right to go out and seek the other side of who they're negotiating with apparently without contacting any other commissioners. I don't know that. I'd like to see the meeting. I mean, because clearly if that happened and it wasn't public, we know what that means. So, you know, I never ceases to amaze me. I'm just stunned when I saw this, you know, and then openly brags about it in a meeting. Really sweet.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Peake?
In defense of that, Commissioner, the amendment request was based off of their own previous annexation request, and they did not act on behalf of this commission. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak for or against this? Okay, that means, Commissioner Alford, I'm sorry.
I thought we were gonna have a map. I think Mr. Sidney asked for a new map of the new roads and so forth, that we were supposed to have. Did we not get that today? So we can look at it visually. And I don't have that package.
It's on your laptop.
Well, I can't get on my laptop today. This laptop needs to be thrown in the garbage. Thank you,
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
But the questions, I have a couple of questions. I think there's a trailer park somewhere involved on this road or around that area. Is there Epperson?
Which road are you talking about?
In that whole area that's to be annexed.
I think that area used to be a mobile home trailer park.
Is there any city plans on septic tanks in those areas? What happens if those septic tanks in that old trailer park, I guess they're still active or around? They're still there. Are there any plans on what to do with all that property or septic tanks?
There's a process of how you dismantle a septic tank system. And I'm sure the developers would have to take care of those issues.
My second question, I guess, thank you, would be Hensley Road. The people who live along Hensley Road now that if we voted this in, would become city roads, right?
That's correct.
What's going to happen to people that live along that road? Are they in the city now, or are they not in the city? They're contiguous.
Unless they request annexation, their property remains a county property. They have to request it themselves for each individual property.
That I understand. It's just, I kind of have to agree with Mr. Rawls. I'm not really sure exactly what all is going on this agenda thing. It doesn't have all this in our what we're going to be voting on next week. In the resolution, does the resolution state all this?
Yes.
I guess this would be a question for the city probably. They're looking to annex all this area and build several hundred houses. And then they're looking at, on APD 40, out there, 200 or 300 houses. What's the city's educational plan? Are there any concept or ideas of what the city's gonna do about schools to that end, or are they all gonna plan on going to county schools? I guess that's a city question, but it really concerns me, and I've stated it many times, that if I live right next to a school, I know where my kid's gonna try to go to school. And I think it's gonna present a serious problem for the county school system eventually. And, cause I don't see the city coming up and saying anything about what they might wanna try to do, because sooner or later, somebody's going to build another elementary school in the south end of the county. All this looks to me like it's getting to be inside the cities now, so I think it's a real problem until that's resolved. I can't vote for this situation.
Thank you, Mr. Alter. Commissioner Winters, then Commissioner Keating.
Mr. Chairman, did not the city manager share with us in our last meeting with Building and Land that the city would take care of the roads around this planned addition? I thought that was.
He did, but it was the city council had to act on it.
No, but if people were saying that the city is not going to be looking at this, the city is taking this property, this will become city to do. Now, I think that we had some assurance in our prior meeting from the leader of the city, the manager, who felt comfortable enough to say that. The deal about schools, I think we're going to always have the challenge with schools. So we've got subdivisions all the way up Freewell Road. There are 3 schools, so county, city, we're all going to have to be looking at schools with the growth that's happening here. But I do think that we got a pretty much positive assurance from the city manager that they would be responsible for these contingent roads. And I do think that a seated county commissioner has a right to go out into the community and express himself, not for the entire commission. I express myself for the entire commission until we're up here. But at the same time, who has a right to come up here and say that a county commissioner can't go out and inquire about what's happening with the road because he wasn't sanctioned by all of us, especially by a prior commissioner? That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Winters.
Commissioner Winters is correct. The interlocal agreement that we are going to be voting on has all the plan services that the city is agreeing to take, and that's all of them. So they will be taking the roads, everything up to this subdivision, they will be handling. As far as schools go, I stated it before, the county is not obligated to take city students. We create the overcrowding issue ourselves. I can't help it if somebody lives next door and the school is next door to them and they're in the city. If they're in the city, they requested annexation and they're there, or they moved into a development that was annexed in and they're next to the school. That's still a problem that they decided to take on. They decided to move to that property and move in it. So life is not fair, but that's how life is. We can't just go through life and say, well, I live next to this county school, I'm going to go there because I want my city student to go there. That's just not how life works. If it's off limits, it's off limits. So if you want them to go to a particular school, then you move to that district that's zoned for that particular school. And I think we create a lot of our headache in the county and a burden on our taxpayers by allowing students to go to schools that they are not zoned for. And that's my opinion, but I don't think that we should take them across the county or take city students in. Then the city would see that they would need another school. If we make the city students go to their schools that they're zoned for, then they'll have to build the schools. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know that the city and the county school systems are always planning for the future. And so I'm sure that there is a 5 or 10-year plan for new developments in terms of schools. So if we're concerned about a new city school coming or needing one, maybe we could request that from the city to see if they have planned in their 5-year growth plan to add another city school on the south side.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Okay, anyone else? Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to point out the I am the commissioner of the first district, and I look out for the constituents and the residents in my neighborhood, and I travel those roads on a daily basis, sometimes 4 to 5 times a day. I would invite any of the commissioners at any time of the day to meet me out there at any of those roads, Hensley, Freewheel Road, New Murraytown Road, and they can choose the time that they would like to come and sit there with me for about 30 minutes and see if you have any traffic issues that you can acknowledge and see during any time that you choose to come out there. I also wanted to point out that there's approximately about 10 or so many residents that are on that Hensley, and we did an interlocal agreement a while back, which we failed to require them to take Freewheel Road from 22nd Street down to Hensley, and then take Hensley down to the entrance of this proposed planned development that's already underway. Our infrastructure is already, and I pointed this out in an early meeting today, that they've already took an 8-inch line all the way from the entrance of the proposed planned development that will have consist of over 100 and some homes on this little short road. And basically that's why I asked the city to reconsider their, just like Crystal Fiber said, all I did was ask them to reconsider their plan of services and to take, that road, because they plan, there's a city planned development that's going to be consisting of over 100 and something homes on this little short road. And I also asked them to take a little bit more of Freewheel Road, because basically on that plan development, or this is what we'll be voting on during a few weeks or so, they actually own the property. Cleveland Utility has a facility. It used to be called the Collins Plumbing Place, and I think a lot of y'all would be familiar with that. They actually, that is part of the city's property. And why they would not be able to maintain the road that would be in front of their commercial building that facilitates Cleveland Utilities, I thought that is fair to the county, and that they would take more road. I also had Lori look up, 2 years ago, Freewheel Road was just paved. And it was paved from Harrison Pike to Cumberland Hills. And this pretty much is the vast majority of what the city is proposing to take, except for the section that would be right past their Cleveland Utilities facility up towards Prospect School. I would say you're looking at probably 90% of this road that the county just paid over $116,000 to have paved, that the city will now, if this were to happen and then the city would take these roads, they would be, it would be at their cost and their responsibilities to take these roads and take care of them and maintain them from that day forward. So basically, just wanted to put that out there, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison. Now, moving on, item C, Commissioner Hughes.
Mr. Chairman, this is a resolution to rezone from forestry agricultural residential district, FAR, to residential mobile home park and travel trailer park district, R4 property, located at 507 Upper River Road, identified as tax map 0222, parcel 009. Those can be seen on pages 24 and 25. I'll put that on the agenda. This, if you'll recall, is the property that was brought up about the possible Indian burial ground.
Oh, yes.
The developer did look into this, contacted the state. There's no record of that. I do believe the developer is here, and I think there's some people here also want to talk on the other side of that too.
Do we have someone here from that development?
Yeah.
Come on. Yes, sir.
My name's Billy Thomas. I'm the developer. I did pay a state-certified archaeology firm out of Chattanooga, Cumberland Applied Research Associates, to do an extensive survey of the property. I had two options. They could do what they call a shovel dig, which is simply digging holes with a spade-type shovel, or to go one step further and bring in heavy equipment. and do a deep dig, and that's what I opted to do, because I wanted to put this completely to rest. They found nothing, not even an arrowhead. No evidence whatsoever of a settlement, no burn pits that would indicate habitation. Of course, it's widely known that the Cherokee Indians were on every inch of property all up and down Hiawassee River. And they were on this property. I found the arrowhead myself showing some lots to some customers. So yes, they were there, but the fact that there's burial grounds is just based on speculation and rumor.
Do you have any questions, Commissioner Pete?
And just to clarify, I have nothing against this developer. He's a great developer. He's very honest. He's very reputable. I have no doubt if he struck bones that he would stop per state law and he would not scratch another blade of ground. The reason that I brought this concern to the full commission is that I had several phone calls that week, and because the sensitivity of the nature, I had to tell you guys, and that's when my accused pulled it off the agenda just to see if they could get a clarification, but it had nothing against the developer and it had nothing against the process, because technically it has nothing to do with the rezoning. But because of the sensitivity of the nature, I chose to tell the full commission about it so that later you couldn't say, Charlotte was told about this and it's a burial ground or something like that. I did not want any liability, and that's why I brought it to the full commission for you guys to make a decision on it. However, legally, planning commission, this has nothing to do with zoning. But I did give you guys the opportunity to take it off the agenda and to place it back on the agenda. And I have no preference either way.
Thank you, Commissioner Pete. Commissioner Crine, then Commissioner Alford.
Yes, all of us up here have 2.5 pages typed names. I'm assuming there's no introductory paragraph. I'm assuming these people are opposed in some manner. Is there anyone here in the audience that would recognize me?
Come on,
Mr. Marlowe.
Good afternoon. So just what you're looking at is a petition that I started on change.org. And for a point of clarity, I do recognize that change.org petitions are shared outside of my control. There are people from out of state who've signed it. But if you look at it, eliminate those that don't have a horse in the race, so to speak. There are several that do live here in Bradley County. You know, in general, I've been told that this is going to be a 5-star resort on Upper River Road in Charleston, Tennessee. That's defined as a 5-star property provides flawless guest services in a state-of-the-art facility. As a 5-star property, such premium dining options and personalized services to its guests. With no detail being overlooked, these properties commonly even provide high-end luxury toiletries and amenities for their guests. If that's what we're getting on Upper River Road, okay. I don't see that being realistic. I live at 1930 Upper River Road. That's what brought this to my concern. I spoke with a lot of my friends and neighbors about this, and they all had concerns also. Stacy Roderick isn't able to be here. He's a local business owner who's lived in the area for a long time. He had 9 specific concerns that he wanted me to share. I'll be very quick with these. The rezoning request, we had no idea that this property was even applied for to be rezoned. There were no signs out. There were no rezoning posted. We travel this road every single day. When you leave the 1900 block of Upper River Road and you go to Chatham Valley Road, you have to pass it. So there was no posting saying, hey, we want to rezone this. So none of the residents out there even knew this was happening. I couldn't find anybody that knew it was happening. Future zoning, if it doesn't succeed as a 5-star resort, I'd like to know what we're looking at. I know there's a mobile home park resolution from 1999 that puts very, very, very specific restrictions and requirements. And I don't know if this property has gone through that process because it is a new R4 zoning. So I don't know what it looks like. If somebody here could take me to another property in Bradley County and say, this is what this is gonna turn into, that would be wonderful, but to my knowledge, we don't have that. So, if we're doing a resort and we're modeling this after something in Gatlinburg, I don't see the tourism foundation in Charleston to bring in the same level of traffic and the same level of clientele or customers that you have in Gatlinburg. I just personally, I don't see it. We're going to increase the traffic in the area. One of the requirements in the 1999 mobile home resolution is that the abutment to the roadway would have to be safe. This is in the middle of S-curves. There's no way, unless we straighten that road out, that it's going to be safe having people turning in and out of there, in my opinion. It's in a very dangerous area. That's number 5 on Stacy's list. If it turns into a mobile home park, we're going to see increases in naturally criminal activity that's affiliated with those areas. If we look at statistics, if you look at mobile home parks, there's more calls for service, there's more calls for all kinds of issues there. And then that brings a decrease in property values along that same river frontage. Less than just a few miles away, we have River Point subdivision. That's where Mr. Roderick lives, and he's very concerned about his property value decreasing as a result of this potential development. Again, if it's a 5-star resort, it could be very wrong here. But if that doesn't succeed and we end up with a trailer park on Upper River Road, this is what we're going to see happen, is the reduction of property values. It'll also, if people are coming to look at homes in the area, if they want to come out and move into River Point subdivision, the last house there was listed for $599,000. The 2 buyers got into a bidding war. He sold it for $680,000. If they drive past a trailer park to get there, I doubt there's going to be a bidding war between 2 buyers and 2 realty companies to increase the price above asking price even. So Stacy has a concern of reduce of potential buyers in the area, and back his 9th concern was the signage. There was no posted signage telling the community there was a proposed rezoning there. The first thing that came up was a sign that's attached to my petition online that said, RV resort coming soon. Told us it was a done deal. That's the first sign we saw. If the planning commission doesn't require a posting of a rezoning application, that should be fixed. I see it in the city all the time. The community should know if there's a rezoning proposed, in my opinion. And again, it's the long-term issue. What does this property turn into in 10 years, in 20 years? That's my concerns. I've known Billy Thomas for a very long time. To my knowledge, we haven't had a disagreement, and we've spoke via text, and I told him very respectfully, we're on opposite sides of this one, and it'll stay respectful, and I have no personal issue with Mr. Thomas. That's all I have to say.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Thomas.
May I clarify or rebut, maybe would be a better word. There was a rezoning sign at the property. Bentley.
That's what I was going to ask. I was going to ask Bentley.
Yeah.
Well, went out months ago at the bridge there.
Right. Yeah. Letters were sent out to adjoining property owners, so it went through the same process as always. Detective Marlowe mentioned that he knows me, and the way he knows me is from the mobile home park business, which I have been in for decades now. I was the developer of Peachtree Point Mobile Home Park, which is the premier mobile home park in Bradley County. It's the only mobile home park with swimming pools and amenities, nice entrance, signage, irrigation, etc. He also knows me from the park that I bought on South Lee Highway. Most of you will remember the old Park Terrace apartments that were on South Lee Highway. It was horrible. It was drug haven. My mobile home park was a block from there. I had the same people that lived in that mobile home park that lived at Park Terrace. That's how we got to know each other, because the sheriff's department were in there on a regular basis. All I have to do when I see a sheriff's deputy, I say, I used to own 3180. Oh, you had that trailer park, so they know that park. But I think if you ask Detective Marlowe what I did with that park over the years that I owned it, I completely turned it around from drug infested. They were cooking meth in 3 homes when I bought that park. I replaced every mobile home in the park. I replaced all the families, all the druggies, all the individuals, didn't allow roommate situations, only families. And I think he would testify that I completely turned that property around. So he knows my history very well. As far as the tourism, I'm not looking for tourism. I'm going to design this to where people can own these lots. It's not going to be in and out, nightly rentals, weekend rentals. I'm going to structure it where they can buy these lots. My parents had a place in Townsend identical to this. It was a complete development campground with full amenities, swimming pools, tennis courts, clubhouse. So they bought shares of stock, which entitled them, in their case, to the ownership of Lot 96. They had it for years. When they got done with it, they sold their shares of stock, which entitled that person to the ownership of Lot 96. So this is it's not related in any way to tourism. This is a permanent way for people to own a lot for their RV on the river. As far as the traffic, again, because it's not going to be in and out people, the traffic's going to be minimal. These people are not going to be driving their motorhomes up and down Upper River Road on a daily basis or even on the weekends. They're going to be there, they're going to sit there for months at a time and never go in and out. As far as the roadway, the visual aspect of being able to see, I'm directly across the street from another road. This road entrance that I have is the road that you folks gave to me a couple of months ago when you deeded to me the possession of an abandoned bridge and right-of-way. Give you an example of what we're doing there. We've already started construction on that old bridge, which is structurally sound. I had it inspected by a structural engineer out of Knoxville. Nothing wrong with the bridge. I'm spending about $100,000, and this has already begun, to build a covered bridge. It's going to be beautiful. And that's going to set the tone for the luxury RV resort that I plan to do there. He mentioned crime. That's not a factor in a luxury RV resort. I mean, there's not going to be any more crime there than there is in his neighborhood or any of your neighborhoods. This is 2020. There's crime everywhere, and there's no way to stop it. But if you look at the history of luxury RV resorts, crime is not an issue. As far as river traffic, yeah, there's going to be some more boats, no doubt. But I don't think anybody can regulate people being able to use and enjoy the Hiawassee River. And that's why I bought this property. It's a beautiful piece of property. I just want to do another quality development and change the standard in Bradley County for campgrounds, because this is not a campground. It's going to be a luxury resort with amenities. Does anyone have any questions?
Commissioner Hall.
Mr. Thomas, thank you. Mr. Morrow, there's only 28 people from Bradley County on this whole 3 sheets. So just wanted to not get misled there with people that's not actually from Bradley County on this situation.
I've got more on my waiting list that want lots than was on his petition.
I guess last couple of weeks ago, we had a gentleman come in here and said that they'd found skulls, and he verified or talked about having been out there and hunted and so forth and so on, and said they'd found Indian skulls and arrowheads and all kind of paraphernalia. Did you talk to any of these 2 people? Were you at that meeting?
No, I wasn't at that meeting. But I have talked to numerous people. When I go out to the property, on more than one occasion, there have been people out there hunting artifacts. you know, there's no doubt, like I said earlier, there's no doubt that Cherokee Indians were on that property. But, you know, the question that was brought up is burial grounds. There are no burial grounds. I've spent thousands of
So
dollars.
you wouldn't found, if you had burial grounds there, you wouldn't think you'd find skulls and all this kind of stuff with you?
Well,
If y'all would have probably come up with something.
one business owner that I talked to, who is one of the people that was out there hunting artifacts when I first bought the property, she said, Billy, she said, if there's any human remains out there, they've already been dug up, and they're in somebody's, you know, showcase in their house somewhere. Because that property is, like I said, widely known as having Cherokee Indian heritage and ties to the Cherokee Nation, and people have been pilfering through it, you know, for decades.
So in your opinion, you don't think there's anything there other than maybe an arrowhead or something every once in a while?
No one, to my knowledge, on that particular piece of property that I own, has found anything other than arrowheads. One person thought they might have found a piece of pottery. There's never, to my knowledge, from all the people that I've talked to, and I've talked to several, including the Heritage Center, nothing has been found that shows any evidence whatsoever of a settlement or permanent residence.
Thank you.
Commissioner Peak?
Thank you, Mr. Thomas, for doing your due diligence. I know you didn't have to do the expensive option of having the heavy equipment out there and digging to see what you could find, but I do appreciate you doing that, because I know in your mind you wanted to know just as well as I did. But I am glad that they didn't find anything, but I have no doubt that this man, if he does hit bones, would stop immediately per state law. Also, whoever keeps hunting artifacts on your property, you need to tell them it's private property, number one, but secondly, it's against the law to hunt any
Right, well,
artifacts.
I've had to change my entrance now, which, you know, because of this, because now it's public knowledge, hey, this is a great place to go pilfer and look for artifacts. And I have caught people who have crossed over my chain with no trespassing signs on it, nothing. Hey, you know, but the downside for me is I can't barricade out the bad people without also barricading out the good people, the people that want to drive across my bridge and look at that beautiful property and consider buying a lot. So it's hurt me financially, but.
And as far as luxury lots go, they're very expensive, because I had inquired about one. So I know that I can't afford one of those luxury lots, so whoever can afford it, I know that it will be pretty well luxury. So anyway, I appreciate you for doing your due diligence on that. I know that you weren't required to do so. Thank you.
Commissioner Evers?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just going to ask one question. Are you planning on operating under a SWIP, stormwater prevention plan?
Yes. Yeah, see, this is just the very beginning of getting my rezoning. There are so many approvals and permits that I have to get from several different agencies. I mean, this may not happen. You know, I don't know that I can do what I'm proposing doing.
You plan on disturbing more than an acre?
Yes.
Okay, you will have to operate under one, and in that SWIP, it has specific language that tells you what you have to do when you come across the burial ground and things, and there's and if you don't abide by the state laws, like Mr. Teague said, there's repercussions of stiff fines and things.
Well, I immediately, when this first came out, the way I learned about it was coming home on Tuesday, opening the banner, and I see what looked like an interesting article on the front page of burial grounds on the site. And I thought, oh, that's because I knew, you know, that my.
Yeah, I just wanted to point that out for all the other commissioners to know that you basically would be operating under that SWIP and that language that's within that SWIP. Thank you.
I notified the Director of Archaeology for the State of Tennessee at TDAC, Tennessee Department of Conservation. He emailed me and told me, there's nothing to stop you from continuing your construction or your development. However, if you unearth any human remains or bones, you're to cease construction immediately. Contact his office, coroner's office, and local law enforcement. And of course, that's exactly what we're doing. I'm not going to prison. I'm going to the river.
Anybody else have any questions? Thank you. Who does? Oh, Mr. Marlowe?
Real quick, he knows me from my time at the sheriff's office, which ended in January of this year. So after 15 years of service and 6 years in the Army, 21 years of government service, I work for myself now. So just a point of clarity, I no longer hold that title of detective or any other government title.
Thank you, Daniel. All right. Moving on, communication from the audience. Anybody who hasn't spoken, who wants to speak from the commissioners, Mr. Rohrt, come on up.
Name's Kenneth Rohrt, I reside at 300 Rohrt Lane, McDonald. I was hoping the Republic guy would stay around. I had a couple of questions for him. Nevertheless, I guess it ain't important at this point. I think I see y'all going in the right direction on this liquid waste, and I appreciate what I think I see. We don't deserve any liquid waste yet because they still don't have our problem solved with our ammonia and other gases. Some of them seem like since we got the new manager in, it's went up a little bit, according to the monitors. So if you read about ammonia, it's a serious thing to be inhaling every day, even at low amounts. It's a caustic chemical, and it can be hazardous or fatal to people that breathe it constantly at low levels. So you can read about that, and you can back up what I'm saying. But to me, threatening us with sludge to come back, I don't take that threat very serious because they pride themselves out of business on sludge. They can't afford to bring it up and down the road. It's costing too much money. That's why they lost that sludge. It's all in the cost of it now. If you check around, all the sludge is being discontinued now. Athens is having a good time now. I think some of their problems is solved due to sludge and, of course, operation, new management in operation of the way they're managing the landfill. But here, I wish somebody would check and see just how much that revenue they have lost. I don't think they lost by about a month's worth. Because if you come in and out that landfill down there, we're getting about 3 times as many 18-wheelers bringing garbage in from these transfer stations from every county around Bradley County. They're even coming from Dalton, they're coming from everywhere. So another thing, we better be concerned about our landfills going to fill up. It's not going to be 20 years. I mean, it's going to fill up fast. And they're here to fill our landfill up and make the revenue and leave. And then the taxpayers of Bradley County is going to suffer over this because then we'll be paying like $90 a ton to have it sent off somewhere else, because if we don't find a place for another landfill, you know what that's going to be. And I know none of you don't want to talk about another landfill.
Amen.
So the future holds. You better take care of what we got, and don't be threatened by these people because they are filling it up fast. And I wish somebody would. I checked with the state. The state won't tell me how many pounds is coming in, and I haven't dug into it real deep. I thought they would give me an idea, and I said, no, it's just 100 tons less. You know, they don't want to tell me how much. But I don't think they've lost anything now. I think all that's back. Mayor may know how much they're getting, but I don't think we're losing. I don't think they're losing any revenue. And there's a few things on this list. This wet poultry processing solids, we don't want that in here. That'd be just as bad as sludge. And they're going to put that in an open pit. It's not going to be an enclosed building or anything, and it'll be mixed with some dirt or solidifying substance that'll take the moisture out. And it's going to be hauled up in the workplace site, and it'll be just like the sludge was when we was having it. So I just don't think we're ready for any kind of liquid waste yet. And I hate for them to keep threatening us about that sludge, because sludge has been such havoc all over this country that it is going away. They're processing, Cobb County's processing every bit of their sludge now. So it's going out on farms in Georgia. So, I just wanna ask everybody to really think hard about our landfill, because what I see is happening now. Like I say, it don't bother me down where I live, I am so concerned. We had pretty good representation when we started here today that's concerned about this liquid sludge, so I believe what I see, I think all this body is on the right page about this liquid sludge. And I hope you'll consider just holding off on that. Let's just work through some more problems that we got before we even consider it.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. Yes, sir.
I'll probably be so nervous you can't talk.
State your name, and sir.
My name is Al Kesley. I live at 281 Banbury Drive. Y'all may be familiar with that subdivision. It's off of Banther Road. I live high up on a hill. I don't smell the stuff as much as some people do. But when you go down that hill, I think, what is it, Parma Road? Where did Kenneth go? Did he leave? Anyway, I moved down from Athens, Tennessee. And when you go down in that dip, you smell that stuff. And they're doing some things over there that's not right. And I'll tell you what my background is. I'm a retired engineer. And the company I retired from, I was director of health and safety, quality, environmental, and both domestic and outside the country. And we were certified to all three of the ISO standards. One of the things that disturbed me about what that gentleman said was accidents happen. Think about that, what he just said. We did something called a risk assessment. Every process and every operation, every location, we had to figure out what was the possibility of something happening. And what would be the probability of that happening? What would be the results of that happening? And what would be the severity of it? What would be the action taken if it did happen? And then what could we do to mitigate the risk of it, keep it from happening? I would ask for a risk assessment. I can help you with that. Anybody can talk to me. I've got a lot of experience in it. Kenneth didn't even know that. He didn't even know I was going to say anything. But this guy, I would ask him for a lot of answers. Ask to see that risk assessment. It's a highly involved, structured process. I can show you what one looks like. We did a lot of them. And for a man to make a statement, accidents happen. How can anybody accept that? Ask him, what kind of accidents would happen? If it happened, what would you do about it? What would be the results of that? This is serious stuff. But anybody that, I'll give you my phone number. I'll serve on any committee that you want me to. And I can tell you some things to ask him. I spent a lot of years doing this. The local, domestic operations, Argentina, and Thailand. We led them through certification, all three of the standards. Now, that's all I got to say. And I'm nervous as I can be. I'm an engineer, I'm not a speaker.
You didn't seem too nervous. You did a good job. Thank you, sir. Anybody else want to speak for the commission? All right then, announcements. Next meeting will be next week, 18th, 12 o'clock here at the courthouse. Upcoming events, the Market at the Mill, July 14th from 3 to 6 at Old Woolen Mill. And the Carrying Place Barn Racing, July 21st, 6:30 at Black Fox Farms. We are adjourned.